Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Podesta, and I'm joined today by Dr. Sal, also known as Gut Savior. And we're going to be discussing, Dr. Sal, so many things, but primarily gut health and questions like the different sorts of conditions that someone could experience, the gut-brain interaction, which has gotten so much attention lately on the internet and in articles, as well as some of the more alarming symptoms and signals that you need to watch out for and that should definitely be addressed by a gastroenterologist. So before we start, I would love to get your background, Dr. Sal. What inspired you on this mission, your personal story? What drives you?
Thank you so much for having me, Laura. This is a great opportunity for me to interact and with the people and let them know where I'm coming from. Thank you for asking this question. So I have been in practice for over 30 years as a gastroenterologist, and I've seen numerous patients suffering from these disorders of the gut-brain interaction, which are like irritable bowel syndrome, functional dyspepsia, where the issue is the nerve-related condition, where the issue is hormonal, the chemical imbalance, where there is minimal inflammation but not really serious enough to be picked up with conventional investigations. So people suffer from these, and the doctors keep telling them that no, there's no pathology. Yes, there's no pathology, but the disorder is real. So irritable bowel syndrome, 40 million Americans and 2 billion people around the globe are suffering from these disorders of the gut-brain interaction, especially irritable bowel syndrome and other varieties like functional dyspepsia. And children with functional abdominal pain disorder, there are 200 million children in the world who are suffering from this. If you break it down, it will be like 50 students in every high school.
I think that number is probably very comforting to a lot of people listening who think or who feel I'm alone in this. But in actuality, there are so many people suffering. So is that part of the reason why you started this YouTube channel and why you're growing your visibility on social media?
That's correct. But in addition to that, there's also the personal touch to this thing, because my mom actually suffered with irritable bowel syndrome all her life. And I thought that I escaped that until I had food poisoning about 10 years ago. And then it triggered the irritable bowel syndrome. That's another thing to learn, that certain infections and food poisoning can actually trigger if you have a genetic susceptibility already. You have a predisposition, and then another trigger happens that opens up or unmasks your tendency, and you have these conditions, these disorders. So once it happened to me, it's okay, all right, so it did. But two anecdotes particularly stayed with me in my psyche. One was I was with my daughter playing golf putt-putt, and it was like, and I had this urge to run to the bathroom. I was having diarrhea, and she was 7-year-old. And here I am in a totally different area in Florida. We are on vacation, and she's with me, and I have to run to the bathroom, and there are people behind us, and there are people ahead of us. And I have to take her, pulled her arm, ran to the bathroom, but I was so afraid where to leave her while I'm in the bathroom. She's only 7. If she walks away somewhere, if something happens to her, I then came to the front desk and I requested the lady there to just watch her for a few minutes and while I was in the bathroom, I was just like, God, I want to rush out quickly to see my daughter. That was one instance that made me feel how people are going through this crisis when it happens to them in public situations. And the second one was an international flight, and I was using the bathroom, and there were people, lining up, and I couldn't come out because it was the feeling, the cramping, the diarrhea. And I was saying, God, why do I have to suffer such an embarrassment? And actually there was knock on the door that, it seldom happens in air flights. People are patient. And this was like the moment I felt that how everyone must be going through when they have irritable bowel syndrome. It's the quality of life that's down in the dumps. And
Really?
doctors tell them there's nothing wrong. There's no pathologically anything wrong. You just have IBS. Just have IBS.
Yeah, it's so disruptive, as you mentioned. There's so much shame associated with it, even though someone shouldn't feel that way because it's what their body's doing. They can't help it.
Exactly, right.
So were you studying when this happened or, was this already your specialty, or did you
It
decide
was
to
my
go into it?
specialty. It was my
Okay.
specialty. It was my specialty. But that gave me um, an insight and into this situation, and the level of empathy that I have now, I would not have had if I didn't go through it myself.
So how did that shift how you were with your patients now that you were experiencing what they were coming to you about? How did
Right.
that change your practice?
So the practice changed because I share my stories now. And when I guide them, when I tell them that this works, this doesn't work, it comes as a more authentic voice. And at the same time, I have done a lot of research on this. So being in practice now, I have kept data. I have been keeping up with all the new information that comes out in literature. So now I can quote them and I can guide them into the evidence-based practice, even non-pharmacologic, because these conditions, if you don't have any pathology, there's not much medicines out there to fix it, correct? So you don't have enough pharmacology there. So you have to use non-pharmacologic approaches to treat these conditions. That's when the hypnotherapy comes. That's when herbal products come. That's when natural therapy, that's when diet-based therapy comes into play when you treat these conditions. Because there's not much. Yeah, sorry.
Before we go into those different sorts of therapies, the pharmacological therapies, as they're called, what can you say about the gut-brain interaction? Is this something that it's most people that suffer from IBS, there is something going on in their head? Or is there also another kind of suffering from IBS where it's not related to anything mental?
Thank you so much for bringing this up because it's a very, very important topic. These disorders now are called disorders of the gut-brain interaction, or DGBI. So what happens is that, we have learned now more neurological literature, neuroscience literature has come up, and the gut world literature that shows that the gut and the brain are in total communication with each other. And gut is now considered a second brain. Gut is such a nervous tissue that it has more nerves than the spinal cord. So it is secreting 20 different hormones, and it is all those chemicals that brain secretes, majority of them also are secreted in the gut. So this communication between the brain and the gut goes on so intensely in our system that all these, the proverbs that have come, like I have gut feeling, gut wrenching experience, butterfly in my gut, these are all real because your gut senses your disturbance around your environment even before your brain has the power to process it. You will feel in the gut first something is wrong before your brain tells you like exactly what went wrong. So brain is like a CEO in our body, right? It communicates with all body systems. But with gut, it has such a special relationship that it listens to gut 70% of the time and gives and gives information 30% of the time. So I seriously consider gut and brain like a couple in marriage. That they are interacting all the time. And if one side is messed up, the other will be messed up too.
And this has evolved. I mean, is this within the last 10 years that this
Exactly.
connects?
Exactly.